Hello everyone! I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today we are going to talk about how I wrote my book, Swine Flu. For those of y'all that are unfamiliar, this is one of the art books that Bryan and I worked on together. This features the short story Swine Flu along with Bryan's photography. Specifically, this is photography from when Bryan and I went to the abandoned hospital in Gary, Indiana, and we took some really awesome pictures together. And just for a little context, it was the dead of winter when we took these photos. It was super cold, and there was this one really cool area that unfortunately we didn't get to shoot in, where it was in the basement, and it was this office area that was just full of all these chairs and desks and just stuff, and the floor had completely flooded, just like we're talking like 3 feet of water. And it was just flooded in this room, but also because it was the dead of winter, it froze. It just looked so crazy, this just really high, waist high ice. And then all these chairs and things just sticking up out of it. Oh, it was so cool. I wanted to shoot on it so bad, but we were both so worried we weren't sure that the ice was going to hold my body weight. So unfortunately, we couldn't take cool pictures of that, but we took a lot of other cool pictures that are included in this book. And just as a disclaimer for y'all, there is nudity in this book. So these are artistic nudes. So if that offends, I don't recommend. Also, for those of y'all that are looking for a little something, also not for you. They're not sexy. They're artistic. They're weird. They're dark. It's a whole thing. I digress. How I wrote this story. This story, I mean, I feel like a broken record now. Everything started once upon a time at Columbia. Once again, this started as a class assignment at my college, Columbia College, Chicago. I honestly don't remember what class it was, and honestly I'd have to go back and look up the year if I really care to do so, but I can specifically give you all the detail that this was, number one, a free form assignment. It was literally just write some stuff. There wasn't anything specified about the assignment. There was no writing exercise or specific thing we had to parody or anything. And two, it was during the swine flu outbreak. For those of y'all who are old enough to remember, there was a swine flu outbreak, and it was caused by contaminated pork. I don't exactly remember what happened with that because it really wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, yes, people got sick and people died, and it was a big deal. But in terms of now that we compare that to today's pandemic with COVID and all that, it was literally no big deal. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, this sad thing happened, and it was kind of scary for a while, and then it went away and it was fine. But I honestly couldn't tell you why I decided to gravitate toward writing about the swine flu outbreak that happened. It just sparked this weird idea in my head, and I just kind of ran with it. So first of all, let's rewind and back up for a second. I need a little disclaimer on this. I don't want any anti-vaxxer, alternative truth, and any of y'all people. I swear to God, do not use this video. Do not quote me. Do not use me or my story at all to try and forward any of your opinions and whatever. I'm just gonna put that out there. I don't agree with y'all, and I don't agree with anti-science, just so you know, putting that out there. I don't care. I get flamed for that in the comments, so be it. But this is a completely 100% fictional what-if style story. And I also want to give you the context of this was during my college days, and I was very much feeling my oats. I was on my own, being an adult for the first time in my life. I was very anti-establishment, very anti-authority. I was super excited to be like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm an adult and all that. So that's where this comes from, is all of that. It has nothing to do with any of the arguments that are currently going on about vaccinations, about COVID, or any of that. We're talking way back. We are very pro-science here. Yay science, yay vaccines. So with that, okay. Preface of swine flu is I sat down and I thought, this swine flu thing is kind of weird. And I had also, before that, when I had graduated high school, there was also this bird flu outbreak thing, and I thought that was kind of weird too, especially because I remember I didn't really have a lot of the information about those two outbreaks because they weren't really that widely covered. Like, it wasn't really like a super whoop-de-doo big deal. Again, because it was like some people died and it was kind of scary, but it wasn't like the end of the world like it is now. I didn't have a lot of details, and this was just kind of going off of my anti-established let's rebel brain at the time. I was like, what if this whole swine flu thing, what if it was actually that government was the one making people sick as a means of population control? And also, to add to the context, around this time period, this is when a lot of people on the, the good old young days of the internet, there was a lot of other people my age and a little bit younger who were very anti-establishment, anti-authority and stuff. And I just kind of ran with that idea. I thought it was a nifty idea. And honestly, it makes for a fun, fast-paced story. And so in Swine Flu, it is the idea that swine flu is actually this government-controlled virus that is being given to the public in form of a vaccination against swine flu. And originally, the government intended for it to be non-contagious, meaning that you were only infected if they actually injected you with the virus, that it wasn't going to be spread via airborne or via any sort of contact or anything like that. But unfortunately, things go wrong and they underestimated the virus, and it does actually start to become actually contagious. And they're like, oh no, this has gotten out of control. We need to contain this somehow. Which, again, it's really weird that I wrote this over 10 years ago, and it's just so scary and poignant for how things are today that, first of all, I 100%, like, I don't know how the pandemic technically got started and all that. I know all of that's up for debate because nobody has the answers, and there's a lot of scary woo-woo-ness around that. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to address any of that in the comments, so don't bother. But we can all agree that it is a virus, that it is contagious, that it is dangerous, and that the vaccinations were done in order to help contain it because so many people were dying. So that's kind of a little bit similar, little bit opposite of what was happening in this story that I created. And it has multiple points of view in the story in order to tell the story from all sides, that you can kind of get the full flow of information of the story with the main character that we do follow, as well as a government official, and then also following just a kind of random bystander sort of person to kind of get that like general public point of view as well. And of course, again, because this was written when I was all anti-establishment and all that, and of course I made the main characters of the story were very goth and very punk and very anti-establishment, and one of them was absolutely the like zombie apocalypse prepper who was hoarding water and somehow had gotten medical supplies, and they're all like, how did you get those? And he's like, don't ask. And they're like, oh my god, dude, like all these credit card bills you have are really scary. And he's like, well, they're not, credit won't exist when like everything goes to shit and whatever. And oh my god, y'all, it just feels crazy to talk about this, honestly. But it's a really fun story, and it ends on kind of an odd note, and of course no spoilers, so you'll have to read it for yourself. But I did that on purpose because, again, this is an art book, so it combines photography with this short story in order to tell this full narrative. And I end the story the way I do intentionally, in that I kind of want the reader to draw their own conclusions about the ending and about what happens to the characters. If you're looking for a story that ties a neat little bow on the end, this is definitely not the story for you, because it does not do that. I am still really proud of this piece because I feel like it really highlights that weird time period of when bird flu thing had already passed, but then we had this swine flu thing, and it just seemed very odd all around. It just kind of like, woof, this disappeared, and then oh, suddenly we have this, and then woof, that disappeared. And also cataloging that time period in my life, my personal life experience, and the views that I had, and the importance that I had put on certain things in that part of my life is just all kind of like this interesting historical snapshot. And by no means is this historical, not by a long shot. It is 100% fictional, not real. There's no facts in this story, completely imaginary, completely made up. But the essence of it is definitely a snapshot into that part of my personal history. So I hope y'all liked this video. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a like. And if you're new, subscribe. I have the link to Swine Flu in the description below if y'all want to check that out. It's a really awesome book. Highly recommend. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.